Hello and welcome to today's Here's to Your Health podcast. I'm your host, Don Lintzman. My guest on the podcast today is Dustin Durbin. Dustin is the Community Outreach and Volunteer Services Coordinator here at CCMH. And Dustin, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, we're going to talk a little bit about volunteer opportunities here at CCMH, and we're going to start off in particular by talking about our patient transportation service. But before we do that, let's give people a little bit of background into you, how long you've been here, and your role and function.
Well, gosh, it's been a long, fun 4 years. That'll be December 9th. I've been here 4 years. The function of what I do is it's controlled chaos, is what I like to call it. So there's a lot of definitely some advocacy out there in the community. I try to, for my community outreach, to try to get more volunteers out there, try to go to the things that are out in the community, the senior center when there's activities going on. We also have activities here at the hospital where we're meeting new guests with the group that meets here every Thursday at 3 o'clock. So we're getting some more people and some people that are actually interested in volunteering. They'll catch me after their meeting, so that's very helpful. So hopefully we can get some more volunteers. In other things in my realm, there's a little bit of grant writing in there. There's a lot of controlled chaos with the transportation. We got to make sure we're getting from point A to point B in a timely manner. Right now we're in the open enrollment for the Senior Insurance Health Information Program, and so that's if you still need an appointment, I recommend coming out here soon because open enrollment will end here on December 5th. And if you do need to make an appointment, I recommend calling 712-265-2509, and Connie or Barb will get you an appointment and get you ready to see them before open enrollment ends. And then I help Connie also in the aspect she does a lot of senior health insurance seminars. So welcome to Medicare. We just she gave me some dates that she's planning for in the future. We'll let more to come on that. We do have the thrift shop, which we have a lot of great opportunities down there. So, and Deanne and that team down there is just running a great ship. So,
and tell us more about the community involvement, because I know that we spend some time at parades and doing other kinds of things like that.
Oh yes, we love doing the parades. We try to hit them all when we can in the county, and it's just fun. We try to keep that, just like everything, we try to let that run with volunteers. It's a fun time. Each town is it's just a different deal in each town. It's certain candy we throw at certain parades. We've got kind of some nice hand sanitizer sprays that we've thrown out at other parades. So we kind of make each town feel a little special with kind of having individual things for each town.
Yeah, there's a couple of things coming up in December, the Winter Snow Show here in Denison, and then I think Dow City Christmas also is coming up.
Yes, so December 7th down at Dow City. We'll definitely be hitting that up, and a lot of our own coworkers here will be there volunteering their time at the community club for the morning rolls and coffee, and then of course in the evening we'll have all the homemade soups that everybody can make. I have to say I make a pretty good chili, so they've asked me to come back again and make chili, so I'm pretty excited about that.
My guest on the podcast today is Dustin Durbin. Dustin is the Community Outreach and Volunteer Services Coordinator here at CCMH. We're talking about the volunteer opportunities that we have available and why that's important. Let's start talking about patient transportation, because that's a huge issue no matter where you're at. It is either the number one or the number two issue that keeps people from actually seeing their provider or following a plan of care, because either they can't make it to see their provider, or they can't get to their appointment for physical therapy or lab or radiology or whatever the case might happen to be. One thing we tend to gloss over is that where families used to live mostly in the same environment, now families are really spread out, and sometimes there isn't a family member who can help with this, and we don't have a neighbor who's capable of doing that either. So rather than talking about the transportation service itself, I want to talk about the volunteer roles that go along with transportation and what we're looking for from our volunteers.
The first thing is, you hear like volunteer, you think of transportation. It sounds intimidating, but it's really not. We like to have a driver. Their sole thing is to pretty much, keep the bus on the road and rolling. And then of course, there's some other duties assigned in there. And then we're also looking for, I'm always looking for hosts, because that's always seems to always be a little bit of a struggle. So a host, they're pretty much the navigator. We use an Apple iPhone to we use maps to see where we're going, because even for myself, there's times I get lost. So it's actually nice to have MapQuest there, and that little lady gets a little sassy, and she'll get you there. But that's something that's really, the drivers really appreciate having that navigation system. And it also helps us know where patients are going, and it helps us keep track of everything. So that's been a learning process that will always be there. It's not intimidating. I know everybody's like, ooh, the Apple phone, but don't let that hold you back. We'll train you. We'll teach you how to use it. And that other duties assigned for the driver, they always like to, when the lift is really easy to use. It's pretty much open the back doors. It's pretty self-explanatory with the buttons of how everything works. So sometimes a host and a driver, it's whoever gets back to the back door first. They love to push the buttons on that. So what the cool thing about the bus is it's a tag team, and so they work so well together. And sometimes if it's a wheelchair patient, sometimes if a host can't bend or can't work, their body just isn't going to work with them, sometimes the driver can help buckle down the wheelchair patient, which is just fine. I really want them to work as a team. I want everybody to know how to use the wheelchair and the lift, because you just never know the situation you might get into, and sometimes it does take two of you to get them buckled in and latched down. So it's really a team effort, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, so just to clarify for everybody that there are always two people on the bus, a driver and a host or hostess.
Yes.
Because that's there for safety purposes.
Yes.
And for liability purposes.
And I always make the joke, so if the driver is speeding, you've got the patient and the host that can tell on you.
The other side of this, on the driver's side, it comes down to a couple of qualifications, but the big one is a valid driver's license with no moving violations.
That is correct. So we don't want any moving violations, any big collisions. So pretty much it's really a clean driving record. We do a background check. Of course, the process is a little bit, I don't want to say it's tedious, but we do in our background checks, we also do a lab draw, just make sure that you're, healthy and safe, and because we don't want you getting hurt on the job. We want to pretty much, kind of like an apartment. We want to make sure if you're moving in, we're going to make sure you're healthy. We want to make sure you have everything that looks good, and when you're clear, we can get you on that bus and go.
Maybe you can give us just a few statistics on the transportation service, because we transport. On average, how many people a day?
With construction right now, our numbers have jumped, so we're doing about 10 rides a day. So on a light day, it's usually about 7 or 8. And that's usually Tuesdays and Thursdays are kind of our heavier days, with all the specialty clinics and our doctors that need to see patients, and of course physical therapy. So we see quite a bit. If you are listening to this and you want to, and maybe right now isn't the time you want to volunteer, but hey, you need a ride, give us some notice. We like to have 48 hours notice to get you on the bus. So keep that in mind when you're scheduling. So if you make an appointment, let us know right away, and we'll get you scheduled.
Yeah, probably a couple of things that volunteers would need to know. First of all, they're vans.
Yes.
So it's not the buses that we used to have, but
Yes.
They are vans. And probably the other thing is that the rides are relatively confined to Crawford County.
Yes. Yep. So we stay within the county lines. We do go to Dunlap. We haven't been down there in a while, which I'm glad, because that means everybody's healthy down there. But we do go to Dunlap. But yeah, we like to stay within Crawford County. We don't like to get too far. And so yeah, we go out to Kyron. For those of you living out in the country, we've been out there as well. So don't be afraid if you're really out there on a gravel road. We'll come and get you.
So when we're talking about the volunteer aspect of this,
Mm-hmm.
Usually volunteers are scheduled morning or afternoon. usually with a partner. Well, always with a partner, but usually maybe with somebody that they know and they recruit to come along with them, because there are ways that we can do that too. So let's talk about how that scheduling works and how often we would expect a volunteer to come help us in transportation.
Well, right now our list is kind of dwindled, so we use a lot of about the same 7, and then I do have a few that can juggle. They don't want to be here every week, so we do every other week with them, or sometimes that doesn't work. I really work around your schedule because it's your time, so I want to appreciate your time. So what I do is, I go through my running list. There's 38 active volunteers. It's kind of dwindled down with a lot of the snowbirds leaving. We just got out of harvest, so sometimes that list can dwindle down to about 20. So those are about the people that I can get. And scheduling it's great. We have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. I usually like to try to keep everybody about 4 hours. I do have some volunteers that like to be here the whole day, and that's just fine. It makes it easier just to have one driver and then just find 2 different hosts if I have to, or vice versa. And then one of the great things that is really enticing is the hospital has great food, so we actually have lunch tickets that we provide for the volunteers for their time. And they also get what we call pretty cool a swag, if you will. They get a polo, a jacket, a winter coat. I even opted out last year for those really nice fleece stocking caps since we're getting ready to go into the winter here.
Yeah. My guest on the podcast today is Dustin Durbin. Dustin is the Community Outreach and Volunteer Services Coordinator here at CCMH. I'm your host, Don Lensman. We're talking about volunteerism and why that's important here at the hospital. And so the other thing I want to talk about today, Dustin, in addition to transportation, we know that we have the SHIP program, which right now we have enough volunteers for that. Yes. But then also the Hospital Foundation Thrift Shop, the Good Samaritan Center Thrift Shop, which also utilizes a significant number of volunteers. And let's talk a little bit about that today.
Well, you've got it. And right now we have partnered really well with Job Corps here in town, and they've got some students that come from there. Any students that are in high school right now that are needing their volunteer hours for the government class, I highly encourage to come on down to the store and talk to Deanne, and she'll get you set up so you can get those hours. We are always looking for volunteers. We have 2 gals down there that are just having a good time. They're both sisters, and I ran into one of them in the hallway today, and they were having a blast down there, so it's good. So you have a good time down there. When you are down there, the thrift shop is there's a lot of moving parts, and each one of them is so fun. There's the stuff that gets dropped off from donors, and so then you have to haul that into the garage, and then you got to sort from there. You're sorting clothing, you're sorting glassware, and then you move those to their proper stations once you get inside the building, and then from there you start cleaning them up. Sometimes my favorite's always been the glassware. It's always neat to see something that's been probably been in a cabinet somewhere for years, and it's got dust, so it's really fun to clean that up and put a price on that and get it out on the floor.
I think maybe what you're saying is that the work is not necessarily all that difficult.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and to be honest, at the thrift shop, there aren't really shifts. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty much open to anybody who would like to come by. Obviously, we do the same sort of thing at the thrift shop that we do for transportation, and that's the background check and the health check to make sure that everybody is healthy, capable of volunteering. We want to make sure that everybody's in good shape. Probably one of the things, I realized at the thrift shop we would take younger volunteers.
Yes.
On transportation, maybe it's a little bit of a different story.
It's a little different. We like the drivers to be 25. That's the same age that you would be able to rent a car. So that's why we have the drivers at that age. As for hosts, you just have to be 18 years or older, and you can help us host on the bus. And so that's actually the only really limitation that we have. But as at the thrift shop, yes, they take a lot of different ages. I love to see when the Boy Scouts come in when they can to help out Deanne. And going back to scheduling, you can do 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, or even a whole day up to 7 hours. So
at the thrift shop.
At the thrift shop. So that's just a kind of a good opportunity to get your feet wet. I think the thrift shop is just a great way to give back to the community. There's just so much moving parts to that. Also in transportation too, but
yeah. Probably one more thing I want to touch on today before we give people a place to go. If they're listening today, they want to sign up, they want to learn more about what we've got going on. Let's talk just a second about the Patient Partners Program, which is, we're hoping to get that implemented and kicked off in 2025. The Patient Partners Program really is about being an extension on the med floor in the hospital, helping with patient care. And not in a medical way, but in a psychological way, helping people for some of the people who have been here for extended periods of time, helping them to be more comfortable, getting them an extra blanket or a pillow or playing a game or getting them a magazine or a glass of water, those kinds of things. And Dustin, in your opinion, when we talk about that, what do you think the upside for a volunteer is to come to that program?
The upside for that is it's a rewarding experience. I'm getting excited when we get that up off the ground, because I think not only the patients are going to appreciate that, but yourself is going to appreciate it, because you're actually giving back to someone who, maybe they don't have family that can visit as often. So this is just a nice way. You'll definitely leave the building feeling rewarded, like you've done something really worthy. So I think it's a good program that I can't wait to get it off the ground and get more things lined up to plan on what that's going to look like.
So let's give people some information about how they can contact you and learn more about the programs that we have, knowing that you can come and just shadow us for a while. If you're thinking about volunteering in transportation, you can come ride the bus and see how that actually works before you make up your mind. If you're thinking about volunteering at the thrift shop, come see us, and we'll get you there, and we'll put you in a place where you can watch what happens, and you can decide whether or not that's something that you'd like to do. On the Patient Partners Program, it'll be exactly the same thing. We want people to be able to see this experience before they volunteer for it.
Oh, exactly. I want you to be comfortable.
Yeah, we want people to be comfortable, feel like they're very capable of doing what it is that they need to do. And we've got a couple of really great milestones coming up next year, both in transportation and at the thrift shop. So next year we're going to be celebrating
10 years of the transportation service, and the volunteers that we still have some of the, you had said it earlier, we have a few of the original 13. Some have retired, but we really want to encourage them to come back. We're going to throw one heck of a party. I'm party planning at the moment for that one. And then we've got 9 years of the thrift shop, so I'll look forward to at the end of 2025 when we really get to plan for that 10-year party. So
yeah. We got great things going on. So if somebody wanted to volunteer today, what would you suggest? Who would they call?
You would actually call me. My direct number is 712-265-2520. You could also email me at ddurbin@ccmhia.com.
Or you can go to the website,
or you can go to
click on the About tab,
and then you just go to volunteer services, and then you just click on there, and there's an application form you can fill out. That's probably the fastest way. I get those instantly, so as soon as you hit submit, that comes to me, and don't be surprised if I give you a call as soon as I see it come through.
That sounds great. Dustin, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it very much.
Well, again, thank you for having me today.
My guest on the podcast is Dustin Durbin. Dustin is the Community Outreach and Volunteer Services Coordinator here at CCMH. We're talking about the volunteer opportunities available. If you have an interest, I would encourage you to contact Dustin, set up a time to come see us, and learn more about the volunteer opportunities that we have. I'm Don Lintzman, your host for the Here's to Your Health podcast. Have a great day.